hope you're excited because I am pumped to talk about 3-axis gimbals. So I want to be very upfront at the beginning of this video to tell you this is not going to be an in-depth review on either of these gimbals. I am an absolute novice when it comes to these things. There's so many better videos out there of videographers that know all the ins and outs of these two gimbals. So if you're looking for an in-depth review, you might as well close the page now because this is not going to be that. What this is going to go over is somebody that's interested in this technology, who's an absolute novice, and wanted to see, can I incorporate either of these tools into my workflow to make my videos better? And is the price that these things cost justified in having them as a beginner? So let's get these things open and let me talk about how I've been using these for the past couple days and what my thoughts are on, will these work in my workflow? I will say, for somebody that loves technology, these things are kind of out of this world. It's just, they're awesome. Let's just get into it. So first up, the Moza Air. So from a case standpoint, really sturdy case. It's a Pelican case. It's got cutouts in it so everything fits in its own spot. It's a really well-made case. What's in the case when you open it is you have the gimbal portion, this top portion, that's in there. You have a handle, and then you have a tripod. Initially, I was kind of like, oh, that's in pieces, but thinking about it, you've got to put the batteries in the handle. So being that it comes in 3 pieces wasn't a big deal. And it actually gets the case size down a little bit. In terms of feel, I think this feels really good in the hand. The handle is a little bit smaller, so it's easy to hold. You have the joystick right here, which is nice. I like the tripod because, one, you could set it down, use it as a tripod, but it also gives you kind of an extended grip, so you have some more leverage when you're using this. Overall, I think it's really well made. It's a great gimbal. The issues I had with it, the first is the software. I couldn't get this thing updated. I tried connecting it to my computer. I tried doing it over the app. I couldn't get it connected or upgraded. So I think because of that, I had issues with the gimbal itself. It really struggled to handle the weight of the Canon 6D with a 16-35 lens. I would notice this kind of jitter in it when I got it. It was balanced perfectly, but when I started using it, it would have this little jitter to it, and you could really hear the motors making noise when you'd go into some different directions and angles. Because of that, I couldn't get it working the way I needed it to. The app was phenomenal. I think out of the two, I think that's the best app. Really easy to use, intuitive. So I think this is a well-designed gimbal. I think it's probably better for like a Sony camera or the Lumix GH4 or 5. For the Canon, it just was too robust of a camera to put on this gimbal. So I didn't get to use it at all. I got it set up, I got it balanced, but I couldn't do much else with it. So that's the Moza Air. Then let's talk about the Crane 2. Before we get into the Crane 2, you know how when you smell something that maybe a smell that you grew up with and it kind of takes you back to a time? So my grandmother, God rest her soul, she was a heavy smoker, and when you'd get gifts from her, they'd smell like her house, they'd smell like smoke, or you go to her house, it had a smell to it because she smoked. It was gross. Well, the Crane 2 has the same odor to it. Even when you open the box and you pull this out for the first time, it has this odor that it smells like my grandmother's house. It smells like she just gave this to me and had been sitting in her house for 3 months. It reeks of smoke. And I got to imagine this was made in a factory overseas and everybody's chain smoking. That's where my mind goes. But there is a definite odor to this thing that is terrible. I think it would go away over time, but it was terrible. Case-wise, it's small. It's longer than the Moza Air, but it's thinner. And it's not that hard Pelican. It is hard, but it's got some flex to it. pretty good case. It's nice. What is nice is it comes all in one piece. It comes out of the box just like this, ready to use, which I think a lot of people will like. They could charge their batteries at home, throw it in their car, get to wherever they're shooting and just pull it out, balance it, and go. I think this is a more robust and heavy duty gimbal when compared to the Moza Air. The handle has more girth to it. It's got more features here with an LCD screen and menu options, an autofocus if you're a Canon user. This is just a heavy duty gimbal, and it's more expensive. The Moza Air is $550. This was $750. So you can see it in the design. I was able to get the camera balanced. I didn't hear any noises with the motors. I wasn't crazy about this lens support right here, and that's because, if you can see, these little knobs, they have points to them. So when I throw the camera on there, the lens hits this support. So when I would tighten it, you couldn't tighten it all the way because the point of the knob kept hitting the bottom of the lens. Terrible design. Just make them round. I get the idea behind this. It makes it easier to turn, but just make them round. It has a quick release, which I liked. Issues that I had with it. While I think this is designed to hold heavier cameras, I think overall gimbals are probably better off with the smaller cameras. It did a good job, but every once in a while you'd get in an angle where it struggled a little bit, or you have to take, when you balance it, you have to take these arms so far out that you end up losing one of your axes because this thing hits. I also felt like the lens was hitting the bottom of this axis right here, so I was always afraid I was gonna do damage to the camera doing these different types of angles and turns in the direction I was trying to shoot. The other thing is, I think gimbals overall, now that I've had a chance to use these, I feel like they're a little bit odd in terms of how they feel in the hand. And the Moza Air comes with the handlebar grips, which I thought was great. For $550 to come with that and not have to buy it on its own was awesome. But I want to hold my camera here. I want to be able to just adjust it and point at what I'm doing. With a gimbal, you're holding way down here and your camera's up here. So I felt like it was odd in terms of how I was using it. I feel like Star Wars. Sorry. So I just felt like it was odd. I get it. The twisting motion, I didn't feel comfortable with it. Maybe that comes over time, but it was a little bit awkward. I would rather a gimbal be designed where the camera sits here and the handlebars are right here. So everything is right there. That's how I would prefer to see these things designed. Ultimately, I think they're really neat. I think if you have a heavy camera, this is the one to go with. They're just not for me. The reason I would have used this is the time-lapse feature of the panning, which the Crane did a great job. I was able to get that set up where I'd go into the app, I'd hit the waypoints, hit record, and it would pan. But I can't spend $750 just for that feature. And I want the gimbal to just be pull out of the box, throw it on, and go. That's why I love the Joby. I pull the camera out, quickly connect it to the Joby, and there we go, I'm going. Yes, it doesn't have any of these features with the accesses and the buttery smooth transitions, but it's quick. I get it out of the bag, I connect it to the Joby, and I go. Here I'm balancing, I'm getting the app. You can go in and tweak things, which I'm sure people will do, and fine tune. It just wasn't for me. I want this to be quick, simple, ready to go. So I think these are really neat. Both of these are well designed. If you have a smaller camera and you want a gimbal, either one would do the trick. If you have a heavier camera, I think you have to go with the Crane 2, but they just weren't for me, so I'm sending them back. Plus, the Crane 2, the smell, terrible. So hopefully you enjoyed this. Get better, be better. I'll see you next time. See ya!